all my department's equipment as normal. I needed my assistant director at 7:05 a.m. I stood up from my desk, walked toward my black shelving unit, and fell against my office door, closing it. Our nightly housekeeper heard me moaning on the floor. She wasn't meant to work that day. My office was at the end of a long hallway with only testing rooms. As I lay against the door, she couldn't push it open. She ran to my reception area and alerted technician Dave. The technicians forced in my office door and found me blue and unconscious on the floor. CPR and code blue were started. Emergency personnel and my cardiac cath lab staff ran, defibrillated me 17 times and performed CPR throughout the code. Nothing worked. One doctor was ready to retire when another, who should not have been in the hospital that morning but stopped in the ER, suggested, "Let's open his chest." The first doctor warned me against opening my chest in a non-sterile place. I'll never forget what the other said. "You can't kill a dead man." He requested a chest surgeon and x-ray from the operating room. My office hosted a chest surgeon. Neither did he wish to open my chest. The doctor said, "Either you do it or I will." They brushed off my desk, laid me on it, draped my chest with a sterile towel, and opened my chest cavity. The doctor pressed my heart twice with his 2 fingers, starting it to beat. That was 8 a.m. I left for 55 minutes. As they transported me to the surgery room on a gurney, he held my chest. I woke up agitated in the ITU, and a doctor advised me to calm down. "You're living on borrowed time." I was sedated by IVs, catheters, heart pumps, and respirators until Saturday. EEG was my department. No one on my staff would take the test when ordered. They worried I was brain dead. The department head tested everything and found nothing abnormal. He then informed me that was his hardest task. Over 15 years, we worked together. I was eternally transformed by those 55 minutes of death. I floated horizontally 4 feet off the floor. I saw my body outline, no characteristics. It was dark below the waist, but above it was a dazzling light 100 times brighter than the sun. I couldn't stop looking at it. I felt like someone was holding me close to their chest. I wondered, am I dead? Before I could finish, the person supporting me said, "No, you're fine." "Am I going to be okay?" The voice said, "You're fine, don't worry." Laying in these arms was overwhelming. Serenity, peace, no concerns, no duties, safety, and wonderful love. Hard to explain, but I felt this being but couldn't see him. It felt like being one with him. Words cannot explain it. I suddenly floated back to my floor body, headed toward the light in my top. I went past the body into this magnificent light, not back into it. As I floated approaching the light body, I observed movement, but couldn't identify anything. My name started being called. It was irritating like a bee buzzing your face. "Dave, Dave, Dave, Dave." I was pushed up through this too quickly, my name increasing louder. I woke up to see the IQ nurse looking down. All my duties, fears, troubles, and pain fell on me like a 100-ton weight. Very upset, I observed all the devices, wires, and tubes attached to my body and realized their purposes. They kept me alive with machinery. To unplug from their machines, I pulled tubing and whatever else I could find. Allow me to return. They cheated me. I did not want to live in that ICU. Returning was my goal. Then they knocked me unconscious with morphine. The next day, I questioned the nurse if the machines were keeping me alive. "No," she said. After stabilizing, they transported me to another hospital and ran many tests without finding anything. My health was great. I kept the event a secret for 6 months, afraid others would think I was crazy. I was hospitalized for carditis. The doctor entered my room, sat down, said nothing, and watched TV with me. He asked, "Dave, did you experience anything when you were out during the arrest?" He surprised me and I looked at him. He adds, "You don't have to tell me if you don't want to." He described his heart attack and what he observed. He heard my story first. I told everyone about my NDE. I appeared on Oprah for near-death experiences. I appeared on TV news. 2 radio shows and media articles featured me. I wrote universities for NDE details. I felt alone in understanding and believing me, except for those who had one. I read books to learn everything before the NDE. We had a new house, 2 cars, and all the creature comforts. The same hospital employed my wife as an RN. After a while, I left the hospital and never returned to medicine. My priorities shifted. All meaning changed. Life was pointless. All the money, automobiles, enormous homes, and titles were irrelevant. Within 4 years, I was divorced, broke, and living with my parents. I was depressed, left my parents, slept in my car, and considered suicide. I didn't understand why I was sent back to this world with nothing, from riches to rags. A Christian shelter hired me as a counselor. I kept wondering why me. A client wanted to hear about my NDE at my office. I thought that could benefit him. He was a charming 24-year-old drug addict. He'd heard my story. After that, I told him I didn't know what to do with my life. I saw doctors, counselors, and clergy, but got no answers. The 24-year-old says, "Dave, maybe this is it, helping others that have nothing." It lit up suddenly. That's it. I had good and awful times before and after the NDE. I couldn't help anyone without walking in their shoes. Jesus offered me a chance to help others, but first I had to feel their pain. I was relieved. Now everything made clear. The 24-year-old was found dead in bed the next morning. Nighttime congestive heart failure killed him. I still thank him for his help. I think Jesus held me during the NDE. I think death is the start of something even better than we can imagine. I reject organized religion. I believe in spirituality, Jesus-written belief, not others' interpretations. I studied spiritual warfare, and it's genuine. I think Jesus suffered for us, so we must forgive ourselves. I believe we are God's children. I live comfortably in Ontario with my husband. Due to 17 electrical shocks during the arrest, I underwent 2 major neck surgeries. My head kept hitting the floor during defibrillations. Electrically, street lights go off as I drive under them. Living room light bulbs flash for no reason, and biofeedback raises my body temperature dramatically. I would gladly share my experience with anyone seeking solutions. After my NDE, I felt lonely. It improved my life. It gave me one. Not sure if I should have mentioned the doctors' names, but they deserve all the credit. Today's experience concludes. I always